All right.
Want me to kick it off?
That's how we usually do it. Yeah. Can you press play?
Welcome to Drawing Hive.
All right.
All right. Hi, everybody. For those of you that don't know or don't remember, the Drawing Hive is brought to you by Visual Arts Passage. And what we do at Visual Arts Passage is we offer online mentorships to help people develop careers as illustrators and painters. And Cassandra, you do a great job at it.
So do you, John.
All right. Well, we have a fun night tonight. Something that I am not, you know, uh, get into movies like this. This is not my world. I run away from it. It's just that everything is a problem for me. But I assume it's the Babadook
The
and
Babadook. Yeah.
Babadook. Okay. And we got some great reference. It was fun looking through everything. I don't know very much about the film, but it was fun pulling the reference. Some really, really nice shots. This one especially. This one's gorgeous. A little bit different too of things we draw. I like the fact that it's a little bit more full figure and kind of soft, not really really kind of blown out, very shape driven. Great shot. Essie Davis. Um, these two faces just killed me.
I know. I love their expressions too.
They're just fantastic. Um, Another very expressive shot here.
Mhm.
You kind of had, I kind of had to go with this one. Great lighting, great expression, good pose.
Perfect for October.
Yep.
There you go.
And really nice. I didn't, a little concerned about someone aiming a gun at me or a crossbow or whatever that is, but it's
Yeah.
a great photograph.
Hmm.
There you go.
So we're going to be doing three poses, two 20-minute poses and one 40-minute pose. And we're ready to go.
All right. Everybody, please post your work with us as the night goes on. So use hashtag DrawingHive224, hashtag DrawingHive and at Visual Arts Passage. We're going to check it out throughout the night. Yeah. So none of you all haven't seen the Babadook?
I haven't.
Oh, it's
Doesn't look
it's
great for me.
no, it's probably not. It's a cult classic, kind of an art house um movie. Pretty
How
fun.
scary. Like what I need is like
It's
all of those
dreadful.
sound great, but how scary.
It's it's a thinker's horror film. It's a very strong allegory about mental health. It's very upsetting. It's about grief, and I loved it. It's dreadful. I would refer to it as dread horror.
Okay, this is a no-go for me.
Yeah, it's
It looks like it was beautifully made.
really really beautiful allegory of the film. Um, and then there's there's kind of an interesting um thing that followed it, which is the Babadook, which somebody asked, like, why did we not choose the Babadook? It's because the Babadook, first of all, is like, it's the hidden monster for a lot of it. And it's already like basically art. And so it's not really, it's like all silhouette. Like wouldn't be a great reference, but um it's a fun movie and it kind of got some legs after it came out. And I was actually looking at this because for many years I knew that the Babadook was kind of a queer icon, but I didn't know why,
Hmm.
right? And I don't think anybody has like a definitive answer why, other than that Netflix included it on their, how they'll do like recommendations. Some people believe what actually occurred because there is a screenshot of it that
Hmm.
Netflix added it to their like LGBTQ category, and then it just like took off and kind of the Babadook was taken in as kind of a tongue-in-cheek icon. And so if you look up the Babadook, there's like a ton of stuff related to that. It's kind of an it's an interesting like second legs for the film. Um, but yeah, it's a great movie.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's weird how things like catch on in the internet,
Mm-hmm.
and like what happens, and it's all about like, what happens. I This is the core of it. Teenagers start something, and then it trickles down to us over a period of years.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I think that sounds about right.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Yep, a meme. It was a meme. Um, and if anybody's wondering, I'm going to drop a link to the photo reference in the chat. What's everybody working with tonight?
Yeah, I'll share my.
Yeah, Jen, what are you using?
Go ahead, Cassandra. You first.
I got a gift. Artified reached out to me and they want me to try out some of their brushes, but they also said, is there anything else that look cool? And I was like, well, markers look cool. So they sent me this huge pack of their alcohol markers. So I'm playing with these tonight. It's so fun.
Oh wow, that's a generous kit they sent.
I know. I didn't. I was just like, I was expecting their small pack, but they sent me their big baby, and
Do you know
um,
what that retails at? That's got to be good.
I think it's around $50. Actually, the price is pretty reasonable
Oh,
for
that's
any
super
markers.
reasonable.
Um, and I don't have one right now, but they said at some point, if I like them, they'll send me a discount code. So the minute I hear, I'll pass it along to you guys too. But yeah, they just thought I would have fun with them. And my favorite thing is to play with art supplies. So when anybody sends me anything, I'm happy to just try them out like crazy.
That's great.
I'm gonna wait and see how you do with them before I try them.
Yeah, so I found like this thick paper and this is cool because the markers go through and this book came with like plastic sheet that you can slip under it too so it doesn't bleed through the next page. I got excited about that too. This isn't from Artify. This is I got somewhere else. John, what do you oh, that looks cool. That already has like a super dreamy feel to it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of searching right now. I'm working in new pastels and some soft pastel too. And I started on a paper that was, I don't know if you can see it on that side. It's kind of a real light, like a mauve or purple. And I'm kind of battling with the color a little bit right now, but it's all right.
I love the softness that you're getting right now.
I don't know. I'm just try to pull in parts of it and leave, areas undone. Back to, kind of how you started painting, just block in the flat shapes first.
Right. And you're keeping the tones pretty neutralized, so nothing's too difficult to reverse or adjust if need be.
Right. Yeah. Gonna be, I think, kind of going back and forth a lot for a little while here. Like even just a little bit of drawing into it really changes it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I like it.
No, I think it's cool.
But
So Cassandra, are you gearing up for Halloween? I'm trying to remember if we talked about costumes.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I'm not dressing up, but my kids are, and so we have some fun, like trick-or-treating and trick-or-treating.
Yeah.
Yeah, the girls are having a Harry Potter year, so they are Gryffindor students.
Oh, cool. Do they always coordinate with each other?
They don't always mean to. Like, we don't enforce it, but then they end up talking to each other and getting really excited. And then they always, so far, they have kind of leaned towards being in a similar thing.
Um, I mean, when you have twins, it's got to be really tempting every year. You're probably like, oh, the perfect twin idea. I mean, obviously, it would be hilarious to do a Danny DeVito, Arnold
Oh my
Schwarzenegger
gosh, yeah.
year
I
with
think the only
two
year I
7 year
really
olds.
enforced costumes was when they were like almost one, and I found cute panda outfits and I put them in panda outfits because it just highly entertained me. But besides that, I kind of just always let them pick and
Yeah.
ends up being super fun anyways. But yeah, it is always tempting to want to take over, but I'm like, no, no, I want to see what you guys can end up doing, and it always ends up being a hoot.
Yeah. I think kid costumes under the age of 3, like pre 3, they're just like parent accessory costumes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like it's not about the kid at all. They're just, blobs you're carrying around that night. Especially one, the
Yeah.
penny blob.
I think when they were two, we went to like two houses, like two
Yeah.
neighbors, and that was really exciting. And we even dressed the dog up. They were unicorns and the dog was a unicorn, and it was
Oh,
in.
that's great. About the same size.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
That was about my last year with my granddaughter. And she
Oh, so
was
cute.
she was just about 2 years old. She's a little bit wiser, almost 3 years old this time. So she was a baby shark last year.
Oh, that is adorable. The year after the unicorns, they were narwhals. So like that was great too.
Oh, that's fun. That's pretty niche. I
Well,
didn't even
they're
know
the
narwhals were
unicorns of the
real.
sea.
That is true. They are the unicorns of the sea. They're so bizarre. It's
I
if somebody told me they're not real, I'd believe it in a heartbeat. I'd be like, yeah, probably not. I would opt into that immediately. Be like,
And what their horns can do is fascinating. Like their horn is basically a big tooth and it can sense current and temperature and it can move a bit. Like it's wild to
Fun
me.
fact, some narwhals actually have two horns.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, they
wow.
already said some narwhals have two horns. I did not know that.
Like super rare.
Why would it?
Yeah, it would be.
My
So,
daughter's in the room for the first
yeah,
time.
yeah, I picked up on that. The narwhal facts, yeah, they'll come through. It was actually really funny. My nephew had some facts. He's 3 about whale sharks, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna butcher which one is right about this, but we were, asking him like, so do they like are they mammals? And he's like, no, right? And then we're like, are they cold-blooded or warm-blooded? And he got the answer right, and we were all wrong, and we were like insisting, and he was like, no, guys, you're wrong. And I don't even, this is how bad my memory is. I don't even remember what the right answer was. Are they warm-blooded or cold-blooded? But I do know that my nephew knows. So
That's
I'm like a
awesome.
little whale shark.
Well, you know where to get the answer.
Yeah,
That's
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
just call Teddy.
Yeah, Teddy needs to get back to some of those fun facts.
Yeah. So what have you been working on this week, Cassandra?
I have a small pet portrait commission that I'm working on, and then I also am in a Wow Times Wow show, so I'm getting that piece finished. I finished up a big orangutan piece last week, so lots of things just kind of turning up, and then I'm just kind of preparing myself to start on a solo show soon. So I'm getting through a bunch of pieces, and then I can start to
Hmm.
focus on that.
Nice. John, what have you been working on?
um 4 foot square painting of a kind of kind of a landscape, but it's of a park, a place in Kansas City.
That's a huge piece.
It's a big piece.
Is it for a client or are you just doing it?
Or believe it or not, I just found out who the client was. And I was pretty excited. It's I'm not going to say their name, but I'll tell you what they do. They're the president of Hallmark Cards.
Whoa, sweet commission.
That's
Uh,
going to be a pretty easy Google.
Well, it was kind of, yeah, really.
Yeah.
Kind of an,
Surprised you just gave that.
uh, uh,
Yeah.
It's a quality flex, I
Yeah.
would want to say.
Yeah.
um, they own, this will be number 3 and 4. I'm doing
Yeah.
2 for them right now.
That's so
Oh,
cool.
Cassandra, varnish painting, the famous varnish painting from last year, or
Oh, okay. Yeah.
same client.
I no longer apologize because it is better for it, but yeah, I felt bad for a while there.
No.
This sounds like an inside
Well,
joke. I think
Yeah, I
yeah.
recommended a varnish, not thinking about John's full media experience, and um, it had to be removed because got damaged, and there were complications to the removal of the varnish because it removed more than just the varnish.
Uh,
I used some paint sticks and some crayons, and it pulled off the the
The
the
cray
part
pause,
that
right?
wasn't, yeah, pulled off the, yeah. Found a way around, but I learned a lot because I found a way around it in the future of a certain type of varnish that Senilian makes for crayons, which are basically, they're like oil crayons, but they're more wax based. I love them though. I love the texture. I love using them.
So I was able to help John have a
Yeah,
big learning
breakthrough.
experience.
Yeah, just, yeah, uh, kind of a critical time.
Hmm. High pressure.
Yeah.
what's the like biggest think when you had a painting where you like crash and burned because of just technical failure like that, not a
I poked a hole through a canvas of half of a diptych that was 4 feet by 8 feet
Oh,
with a palette knife.
anyway, any is there any band-aid solution to that other than like a literal band-aid?
No, the solution was start over on a hard surface.
Really?
Yeah, I learned a
oh.
lot from that too.
Yeah. Cassandra, how about you? Anything just devastating?
Um,
Oh, you got your hippo.
well, I mean, I've had pieces just fail on a tight deadline and that stunk. But I tried a new medium one time on a tight deadline thinking it would dry fast, and in fact dried 4 times slower than anything else I'd used before.
Oh my God.
So I was like having to write the gallery just apologizing because you can't mail a wet painting, like you can't pack that up. And so I
Right.
was just really embarrassed because I thought I had had it all, like I was on top of it all, and I was in fact not.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, you shouldn't mail a wet painting.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see about.
I know people that have tried, and I have tried.
Yeah, yeah, and it never goes well.
Yeah.
So I just I just remember trying all the tricks, like um you set it outside in the sun, but make a box so things don't stick to it. And so that wasn't working so well. You can turn the oven on briefly, let it cool off, and then with the door open, put it on the rack. Like I was doing any trick I had heard of or thought of, I was doing,
Mhm.
trying to get it to dry.
Yeah, I've baked a few paintings before.
Yeah.
If you're working big, it kind of can't though. That's the problem.
No.
When you say baked, do you mean like you overdid it or it
No,
worked?
you put it in the
Put them
oven.
in the oven.
No, I mean okay. I just meant like it went well.
No. Well, no,
Right.
no.
Yeah, that's what
There's times it worked really well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it can work.
yeah. I
It's
did
just
all
like
kinds
kind
of.
of the devil's playground
Yeah, so
situation.
yeah.
Yeah.
A bit.
You
Yeah.
kind of do it and hope for the best, right? You know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I use a lot of our kitchen appliances for painting. I put all my paint in when I'm done painting every evening. I put it in the freezer, and it keeps my paint from drying.
That's
Um,
nice. Nice little
yeah,
hack.
my oil paint.
I liked that fun fact.
That's a fun little trick.
Mm-hmm. extends the drying time of, it just won't dry. I mean, you can keep that same, working with that same palette for a very long period of time.
Are there different what are the recommended temps for like acrylic paint, Cassandra? Like
Uh,
like any room is it just like room temp?
yeah, yeah, like I don't know, super forgiving. I mean, you don't want it to be freezing. Um,
Right.
I've never tried to put a pallet in the freezer before. I kind of always just consider what's left over, the sacrifice to the paint gods, and squirt out new stuff the next day.
Yeah, right.
But
Yeah.
I've never come up against like it not working because it was too hot or too cold. As long as it's moving, like it seems to go pretty well.
Is there like an art supply or medium that you've invested in that was just like a total you just took a bath on, just like it didn't pan out, didn't work at all, just like charge it to the game.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
tried to get the pencils Dale uses because they look awesome, and I was horrible with them. I couldn't get him to
Yeah.
do what I wanted him to do.
So they just sit in a drawer probably untouched now.
What'd you say?
Do they just sit in a drawer now, just untouched?
Totally.
A
Like I always think I'll
reminder,
get back to it and I'll figure it out.
a reminder of the $50 or something that you spent. Just that would be my issue if I drew in paint. I would be gadget hungry, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
like I'm a total fiend for just like trying new arts. That's why I get just it is my dream when somebody reaches out and just said, "Hey, do you want to try stuff?" I'm always like, "Yes, like whatever you need." Like, love it.
How many times has that happened?
Um, I think this is the third art company that this has happened where they just
Really?
send something very specific for me to try. This was the
Yeah.
first one where they like asked if there was anything else that looked cool for me to try.
Yeah.
So that was extra fun. But then, you all have let me like try out some stuff to do some blogs for y'all, and that's been
Uh-huh.
super fun.
Yep. The synthetic brush vlog and blog is up.
That was
If you want to go check it out, go to YouTube. You can don't do it now. Um, but Cassandra had made a really cool video that just is a really in-depth technical look at flat and round synthetic brushes.
Yeah, it's just fun to understand them and try different brands. Like I'm always loving to pit brands up against each other to see what I like or what works.
Hmm. Yeah. No one sponsored us either,
Well, you
which
sponsored me to do it.
I guess we were the sponsors. Yeah. Guess that's how that worked. We just positioned ourselves poorly. We need sponsors. I should have got, yeah, that's the thing though, is you'll be like, so they said that this synthetic brush is the best. And they'll be like, yeah, but who funded that study, Timmy?
Right. That's why I wanted to be really clear that you guys paid for the brushes, but you had like there was no affiliations. Like, yes, I've worked with art
Yeah,
supply companies, but like it's always just they want to see if I could
yeah,
make something with it and what it looks like, and just make sure to
yeah,
tag them. So I love all that stuff. I just think it's
yeah.
super fun. The more
I
I
bought up.
can play
Yeah,
with them, the more I know about art, and I think it makes me better. So
yeah. I bought all the synthetic brush stocks the day before we posted it.
Wishful thinking, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah,
well, it is the recommended kind of brush, especially for acrylic, because acrylic just,
yeah.
kills natural hairs and well, natural hairs come from animals, so I don't really
To
like
convince people to stay here and not watch the video, what would you say are the main reasons to use a synthetic brush over a like a natural hairbrush?
well, one, no animals had to be plucked for it to happen.
Yeah,
So like yay on that. And
yeah,
then also acrylics break down the natural hairs. Like they split faster, they fray. So it's
uh-huh.
just, they're often more expensive. So you're investing in a more expensive brush that won't last as long. If you're
Yeah,
doing oils or watercolors, like natural hair is fine in that situation, but I've been playing with synthetic both with watercolor and oil also, and I've found that they work great. So I
Yeah.
think that they're more affordable, and I'm really frugal. So
What are all of the hairs that are used? I know boar, right?
there's boar, squirrel, mongoose, goat, um, gosh, there's so many. What is sable? I can't remember them all. There's a lot. There's horse.
Yeah.
I said horse, right?
But yeah, isn't there like beaver and
Yeah.
um
At this point, it just sounds like they're just trying to go exotic to pull you in,
Yeah. Yeah. Some of them it feels that
doesn't
way.
it? Beaver.
yeah,
You're just like, yeah, this is little tiny bristles. That's what I would think. But yeah, that's funny.
It feels
Or
wrong for me to paint adorable, inviting animals with
yeah.
hair of them.
yeah,
I can't get behind it.
I think your brand is on the right side with that. That sounds like a good move.
Right. Yeah, you never want to read like an expose. Some at some point, Cassandra's killed how many
I love to
in her
paint
career?
Yeah,
squirrels with squirrels.
I've
yeah,
done
it's
the
the
testament.
the crooked New York Times.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll release a statement and we'll be like, Visual Arts Passage had no idea that Cassandra was using animal hair.
We do not condone
Yeah, we do not
her
condone
practice.
this. We never would have condoned it. Yeah, we're appalled.
And disappointed.
And appalled and disappointed. Yeah. No, no, I'll send you some echo hair. I got a bunch. We have it throughout our whole house. This dog hair. So
yeah.
You know,
If
I'm
you could
actually
work with
tempted.
Labrador,
I have
yeah,
a
okay.
corgi, which is like one of the top shedding species, and so I'm always tempted to like felt something with it.
you should you should do a corgi brush. That would be so
Mm.
fun.
I have
You-
to learn how to make a brush. I'm not anti it. I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the rule should be you know what, this is a company that we could start is we make brushes that are natural haired brushes. So they're animal brushes, but it's only hair that's fallen off the animal. So it's just dog hair that we're sweeping up in our house.
Yeah,
Yeah. There would be no shortage. It's an endless supply of dog hair.
whatever we can collect in the vacuum.
Yeah. Literally would never run out. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, the Labrador we give a coarser hair, you know, depending on
Yeah.
species.
Yeah. Um, fun. Fun. Yeah, brushes are a pretty weird um business because I'm trying to imagine what that even looks like on a manufacturing side. Probably not pretty with animals.
Yeah, yeah. So I just, you know, I want to make sure I feel
Yeah.
okay about it. I know synthetic is still, you know, I'd love to find the greenest options possible. And as I learn more and grow more, that can happen. But right now, like
Yeah.
the synthetic, at least I know it's not an animal's coat.
Is it technically a plastic? Is
Yeah.
that okay?
I,
Yeah,
I know
that's
there's gonna be like
balancing.
bamboo brushes out there and stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't used them.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where you're like balancing which one is, just making a game time decision on that. But
Hmm.
if you can, if the synthetic brush has like some shelf life to it, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, I've made my cheap $2 gesso brush last 2 years, and
Wow.
like, you know, you clean it after use, it's got plenty of time. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably the key is how diligent you are with cleaning it after use. Yeah.
but you know, John really cares.
Yeah.
that's not my specialty.
That would be the hardest thing for me.
I don't
Getting a
use
clean
that many
studio.
brushes though. Yeah, I paint with knives a lot.
Yeah, I feel like you're kind of set up for success that way, John, actually. Like a joke, but
I do glaze and we'll come in with a brush at the end of something pretty often.
Cassandra, is your studio pretty organized?
um, like probably to your eye it would not look it, but I know exactly where everything is.
Uh-huh. Does a mess bother you?
Uh, I think if it's dirty, it bothers me. Cluttered, doesn't bother me.
Ooh, clutter. Oof.
I have clutter because I just like I'm always like everything is usable and there's opportunity. So I have a certain amount of clutter.
I have a lot of clutter actually.
It's so funny how clutter, I have clutter bias. So like if I were to walk out and like, you know, when you're married, right?
Mhm.
And you're in your house and your house is maybe not up to like you're getting upset because there's like a mess or like stress is like the dishes are piling up or whatever, right?
Mhm.
You're always like, this is nuts. There's so much clutter. And then my wife will be like, so is this not clutter? All your stuff over here? or or like, how about this like pile of stuff that you have on the that's been on the kitchen counter for like a week? And you'll be like, that's for a project.
There's something that can be used for.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're like, that's
unfortunately, I am the cluttered one. My husband is way
yeah,
more minimalist, and so he's
yeah.
had to adjust. I would say I'm hobbity chic with like,
Oh, like like Hobbit, like like
you
Lord
know,
of the
I've got a
Rings.
pile of books and I got like my
Yeah.
corner with my crochet stuff. Like there's just, there's always
Um,
something that I'm working on that is just somewhere.
cozy chaos.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's a good way.
yeah. All right. John, do you have a segment for tonight?
I do.
Are you ready
I
for
think I
it?
have the perfect artist that relates to this movie.
To the
Oh.
Babadook? Really?
I do.
So we don't have a theme song for it because there's been an issue with all of the theme songs lately. So I'm gonna play you on, John. It's do do do.
I can get there.
Yeah,
All
you can
right.
probably figure it out, right?
Yeah. Let's see
John
if
said he's not doing it if he doesn't have a theme song. So
What
let's
way to make it happen to me.
we may
yeah,
run into the share issue again. Let's see.
it's looking good.
Looks good to me.
Yep,
Uh,
looks great.
okay.
We
So
ready?
I was trying to think of how you described and what I read about this movie
And,
of it being a really
and John, I'm sorry, I should cut you off. Before we jump into this, sorry, we should move on to the next pose. So it's hashtag drawing hive, hashtag drawing hive 224, and Avid Arts Passage. Posted to Instagram. We're moving on to the second image as we learn from John. All
okay.
right.
Well, you're not going to learn tremendous amount. I'm going to point you in the right direction um, of somebody that did paintings. Oh my gosh, I had this all written out and it's gone. Oh no, I should have
Oh
been paying
no.
attention. Let's give
Do
me, okay.
you
Oh,
need
I
us to
found it.
buy you
I
some
found it.
time?
I found it.
Okay.
No, I'm
All
good. I'm
right.
good. So the
Ooh.
painter that I'd like to discuss tonight, which is this guy, Francis Bacon.
Oh, good one.
And Francis was born in 1909 in Ireland. He's considered an Irish-born British figurative painter known for his raw, unsettling imagery. And before I show any of his work, well, actually, I could show the first one because this is the painting that most people would recognize him within the last 20 years, probably, is this.
There you
Mm-hmm.
go.
And so you go back to what Batman movie was it with Jack Nicholson as the Joker? And they're vandalizing the museum and they're tearing apart all the artwork. And he sees this painting and he stops and he says, "Don't touch that one. I like that
Yeah.
one." That's how most people know this painting. So,
Yeah. It's
um,
like Francis Baba Bacon.
yeah, absolutely. Um, he was a really interesting man. He didn't start painting until he was almost 30 years old and didn't do artwork. He had a life as he was working as learning how to be an interior decorator and a gambler. Um, and that was the gambling thing was a theme throughout his life. Um, this was some of the early work that was influenced by Picasso. One of his early portraits, and then
Yeah.
really beautiful stuff and stuff he was doing in the 1920s and 1930s. And uh, in the 40s, Oh, I had one more. This one, I don't know, when I showed the Henry Moore pieces, the sculptor, a few months
Mhm.
ago, this reminds me so much of Henry Moore.
Yes.
And Henry Moore drawings, obviously not sculpture. But you can see the influence for sure. But this is what the world really knows him as.
Hmm.
And um, and this is a little bit out of order, and there's things that aren't perfectly aligned. Um, really expressive work. All mostly very simple subject matter.
But it's so smartly simple so that he can go so complex in the way that he handles his faces and figures and stuff.
Yeah, how I really learned about him. It's like, I remember hearing his name in school and seeing, pieces of his, but not until somebody I really was uh engaged with their artwork. Somebody that I considered like a muse or a hero was the painter Robert Heindel, the painter of dance. So many figurative dance and theater pieces. He said his major influences, I remember him telling me this, were Francis Bacon and Edgar Degas, which makes total sense when you look at Heindel's work.
Hmm.
But there were some things rattling around this guy's head. Um,
Actually.
he was also he befriended another great British painter, Lucian Freud, and they had a great friendship until they until they didn't, and they had a fall out in the 1970s, and neither person would ever tell what upset them. And but they were like really, really close and just completely separated.
Hmm. Francis Bacon is also very famous, speaking of studios, for an extremely messy studio.
Well, don't get there. I mean,
Sorry.
you're ruining it for me.
I apologize.
No, no, I like the foreshadowing of what goes on. Lucian Freud is famous for a very messy studio too. Uh,
Ah,
and extreme, like just stacks and stacks of palettes and materials and brushes everywhere. I'm glad you know that fact, Cassandra.
it makes me feel better about my studio. That's why I know that fact.
Yeah, you talk about clutter and messy studio.
Timmy, you lose your mind.
It, I don't, yeah.
Gianna would not understand. He became one of in the late 20th century, one of the most well-known painters in the world, and certainly one of the most expensive at auction. He's only curated, which I thought was pretty amazing for a lifetime, 590 paintings. But they said he destroyed a lot of paintings. Um, like just got rid of them.
Ugh.
And he was famous for doing this type of thing. He said he saw everything in a series, especially with his portrait work. He did a lot of diptychs and triptychs.
I love that. I love those pieces together.
This is a self-portrait. He focused on a lot. He did a lot of self-portraits at the end of his life. And painting, almost all of his paintings were his friends, the people they there's a line here, I'll read this. Um, from the mid 1960s on, he mainly produced portraits of friends and drinking companions. Either as single diptych or triptych. And that really didn't change. He spent his middle age eating, drinking, and gambling in London Soho with the like of friends, including Lucian Freud. And he lived to be, I mean, he was alive when I was first looking at him. He lived to be 82 and he died in 1990.
Wow. He's friends with Lucian Freud.
Uh-huh. They were
Wow.
close friends, who was actually,
Sounds like he probably wasn't only drinking.
yeah.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah. I like that fun.
But this stuff is just wild and beautifully done. Very simple pictures, really complex materials. Love this one. You know, what a portrait can be, what a face can be. I think we're coming up to Cassandra's famous, but I've always loved this painting. I just think it's so unusual, frightening.
I like his the one of ham with a pork.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
this is a self-portrait series. And then look at that.
Yeah, there it is.
Nightmare.
Look at that, Timmy.
It's a nightmare.
I have two shots of it. This one and this one.
I hate that.
But you know what I love about it though? Cassandra, what do you think I love about this picture the most? What do we do in class? What do we promote more than anything?
Process.
You look at that process hanging on the wall.
Yeah.
Look at those
Wow.
value studies. He knew where he was going when he started to paint.
Mm-hmm.
And almost all my favorite painters did that. You just you know you could design. Your time is so much more economical, and I think it really helps with developing voice as much as anything. So there's proof. As messy as he was, that process was really important.
Yeah. Just think about just think about how that output could have been if he just got organized.
See, I look at that and I was like, I totally know how you got there. Like, I know how that
Yeah.
happens. Like, it's
Yeah.
just your
Yeah.
schedule gets
It's crazy.
crazy.
I would go insane. I have to, I have,
That's
I have to empty out and then reload.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
there's a part
yeah.
of me that I look at that scene and I understand people thriving in that environment, or I don't even think it's thriving. It's not, it's the act of having to clean up is not conducive to you. And like I don't think that it's that he thrives in a room where nothing is organized at all.
Right.
I think it's just that the act of like having to organize it is like not important, right? And like
And
having to
he
clean it
probably
up.
to him does not see it.
Yeah, it doesn't see it, right?
Right. It's really, really funny. My
Yeah.
good friend, we all know him, George Pratt. Um, we rented
Comic book artist,
yeah,
illustrator, painter, yeah.
phenomenal, one of the greatest graphic
Extraordinaire.
novelists, a great painter, great drawer. Anyway, we rented this house together for years while we were doing the academy, and he had moved down to Sarasota. And I didn't know this about George when I first, when before we did this, but it's like he didn't mind that. This was okay for him,
Yeah.
and I Brent Watkinson and I walked into the apartment. We had just gotten to Florida, walked into the house we were renting, and I was just like, I commented to Brent, and Brent looked at me. He goes, "George doesn't see it," and
Yeah.
and then I really realized he didn't. And then he called George the shape of water. He said, whatever space he's in, he's just going to fill it.
Like a goldfish. I like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyway, you can think of I look at these, Cassandra, probably you and I find this fascinating because there's there's obviously something being made. There's time in the space and personality to it, but man, I could imagine him, with his other part of his lifestyle coming into this room and painting late at night and just, just chaos going on.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like chaos.
But
Yeah.
like some people just thrive in chaos.
But
I,
really interesting. And either on this photo and this one, I mean, I'm sure there's light sources in there, but I think that skylight was really important to him.
yeah. What I will say is is that room definitely had one of the following mice or roaches.
Oh, he was in London. It had both.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing I will say is in a space like that, because my dad was like that. Like my dad was very much like that. And there's a lot of waste that comes with that.
Mm-hmm.
There's just it's just stuff that just gets buried, and then it's like, oh, that would have been nice to have used when it was still usable.
I needed that 2 years ago.
Yeah, oh man, that would have been awesome in 20. But like, I don't know. There's one thing that I always love is like everybody's dad has like a board in their garage and they're waiting to use it for some project.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Like,
Not
I'm like that
everybody's
with
dad.
frames.
Sometimes people do in general.
yeah, but like
To
it's like
myself.
I think it's a dad thing for sure.
Yeah, you
It's
don't
just
know
like, oh
when you're
yeah, I
gonna
got
need
that
that
board.
board.
You never know. And the day that you need it, what a day.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I feel like I'm like that with frames. Like I will collect crazy things, and when
Mm.
I finally use it, it's just proof that there's a reason to hold on to it.
The Francis Bacon and Babadook connection, John, it's really strong. It's so strong. I Googled it because in the Babadook movie, there is a storybook, like a children's book.
Oh,
It's
cool.
way, way too creepy of a children's book, but they present it as if it's a children's book.
Well, that's cool. Well,
Um,
I'm glad. I mean,
and it looks aesthetically so close to where you're like, oh, someone like conceptually was inspired by Bacon, and
well,
they
It's not hard to be
no
conceptually
no
inspired by him.
they Baba took it from him.
well, that piece I used on at the
Yeah,
beginning, the red piece, was that part of
yeah.
the book? That was an announcement for the film, but was that character out of the book?
I'd have to look at it again, but probably if it's the monster, yeah,
Yeah, I saw the monster.
yeah. You were like, I'm good.
Ooh, Gary made an excellent point. He said some of Bacon's distortions almost anticipate AI.
Yeah,
I could get that.
Yeah, yeah.
that would probably be an accident, though, right? That would be amazing if Francis Bacon was like, "This is gonna happen." Yeah,
But, I will tell you, I'll name another artist that you know.
yeah.
I think Cassandra may have met him too, but Francis Livingston,
There you go.
he
Mm.
incredibly good painter. But if you
Uh-huh.
if he wasn't like if it wasn't for his wife, it would look like that. I mean,
Mm.
What did his wife do?
well, she's an artist and she
Yeah,
cleans up his studio. Um,
She's an angel. That's what she is. She's an
yeah,
angel.
absolutely. But his
she's an
temp,
artist, so she's a painter. Is
yeah, she's
okay.
she's illustrator and painter, very good artist.
What's her name?
Um,
Don't mean to put you on the spot if you
you
don't
just did.
remember. Sorry. So we were talking about,
Oh,
so I'll pull you off of it so you can think. But Paul Silva actually mentioned Marshall Arisman might have had some influence from Francis Bacon. You see that?
oh,
Mm.
huge,
Yeah.
hugely influenced.
Yeah.
What Marshall's very influenced by. I've had that conversation with him before.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've listened to Marshall talk, and he certainly did not hide from his influences.
It's fun.
Sue Rother is
There it is.
I was gonna say you can
sorry,
go. Yeah.
sorry.
That's good.
When I said his name, I just almost started sweating. He called me last week, and
Because you knew I was gonna say that.
I haven't returned. No, I haven't returned his call back. He
Oh,
called me when I was out of the studio, and I got to call him back.
yeah. You guys are good friends, right?
Yeah, wonderful artist. Really, really
Yeah.
good guy. Great painter.
Yeah. I have friends like that. If I get a call, if I'm not in the right space, I won't answer because I know it's like as a good friend, I haven't talked to him for a while, and you gotta have some time.
Got
So
to have some room.
have some room.
I learned something from Francis about like communicating with other artists. This was before, and
Yeah.
close. He and I are kind of Luddites anyway, but before everybody was communicating with social media, we would call each other we'd have these long conversations, just talking about art, talking about all kinds of things.
Mhm.
Then one day it just kind of dawned on me. It's like, Francis, you're painting, aren't you?
Oh, you just weren't doing
And I was
anything.
just talking to him, and it's just, yeah, I'm in my studio painting. I'm like, oh my God, I've wasted so much time here.
Yeah.
I need to be doing this differently.
I pace.
I'll call you back in a while.
I, I I pace and I pace whenever I'm talking with anybody for a long time, and I'll climb on things too. Like
Like you'll
the
be on
things that
top of
I've
the couch kind of thing.
not on the couch, but John, the bench that you gave me, like one time I was on the phone and all of a sudden I was just like, oh my God, when did I start standing on this bench? I'll just step. My whole goal, I think, when I'm on the phone is to get taller. Like I just am trying to get myself up to a higher space. I don't know. I go into like drone mode.
That's funny.
Um,
That's
yeah.
hilarious.
But yeah, pre-social media, some 3-hour conversations on the phone were totally normal.
It's very common. Um, it's funny. I did that with a group of illustrators. I guess it kind of happened afterwards because I wasn't illustrating. I was painting. I was doing gallery work at the time. But I used to talk with other illustrators on the phone quite often and be working at the same time. But I
Yeah.
didn't think about it with Francis, and I just it was just kind of dawned on me. It's like, you're working, aren't you?
Hmm,
Yeah.
I kind of love that.
I remember people would call and you would like flip to the same show and you would watch it on the phone,
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I've never done that.
which is funny because that's something that you would think would like have happened now, like that would have like come full force. And it doesn't really. Like it's all text and stuff. Um, Most of the people I know and work with just dread a phone call. They don't want a phone call. And I typically don't really want a phone call. I prefer the text. But um
It's amazing. It's like I used to talk on the phone a lot. I mean, that was like my social life, in the studio. And I hardly talk on the phone at all anymore.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, the number of times that like I always think it's amazing that when I was in high school before kids had phone because the cell phone happened right when I was in high school. Like where it was like, okay, I think we're gonna give all the kids these. like, like that was society. Like I was a junior, senior when society was like, yeah, you know what? Teenagers need these. And but before that, it was just like we had to call everybody else's house and it'd be like you'd call. It was just like the phone tree
You had to
system.
talk to the parents. You had to say
Oh
hi.
my, the number of parents I had to talk to was awful. It was the
Yeah.
worst.
Yeah.
I
Be like, who are
remember,
you? What are you doing?
I still think about this. The first time that I ever had to call a girl, that was a wannabe girlfriend, I guess is what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Wannabe girlfriend.
Um,
Or were you a wannabe boyfriend?
I was
Was
a
that?
wannabe boyfriend is what I was. If she
Yeah.
wasn't, maybe that's a much better description. But I I would call their house. Inevitably, her 2-year-old brother would always answer the phone and just torture me. And so I got to the point where I was trying to figure out his schedule when I knew I could call their house. But that's how it was. You had to deal with everybody in the family.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
And you'd be on a phone call discussing something, and then like 30 minutes into it, you'd hear like a click, and you'd be like, "Who's on this line?
Get off. Mom
who's
said I could use the phone for this
who's
time.
who's been listening in on my private?" There was no privacy. It was just
Hmm.
there's like three other phones in this house, and anybody picks it up just is gonna hear what you're talking about.
Yep.
I think about that all the time. The number of times I would just pick up the phone and just listen to another two other people have a full conversation.
What, Timmy? You were sneaky at times?
Oh my God, I did that all the time. I did that all the time. And then I think that's the only reason I knew it was happening to me too. Is just there was a time where everyone lived in a house where everyone in the house was like the
Aware of everybody else's business.
Yeah, we were just like all NSA agents
Yeah.
like all the time. Yeah. So it's
You'll
fun.
you'll appreciate this a lot, Timmy. Uh, you grew up, I guess your the beginnings was in Peculiar, Missouri, right?
I know what you're about to say, John, and I'll beat you to it. We had a party line.
Yeah, I did too. And when I
Yeah.
bought that property out in Kearney, Missouri, and I literally was working was doing Bantam Doubleday. What was my first hardcover that I had done. Art director was Jerry Coonahan, really good art director. And my neighbor, I got to the phone. My neighbor was having a conversation with him when I got to the phone.
Yeah.
And I just thought, and my neighbor, your dad said this to me at one point. I told him, I said, I'm done with it out here. I can't stand. I love that. I
Yeah.
love being out in the country, and the country, like all of that, the property and all
Yeah.
of that. And he said, "Yeah, I know what you mean." He said, "But it's wearing on you, isn't it?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "It's wearing on to me too." And he described it. Don't you want to go someplace where your neighbor's major ambition in life is not fixing up his Camaro?
Yeah. My dad, my
That
dad
was
has
that was the situation I was in.
my dad had a lot of problem with like car guys on the country because he told me, he goes, we left Peculiar, Missouri, which is a very, very, it was in Cass County, a really, really, at the time, really poor county, out like an hour south of the city. But he told me, he goes, I had to move. We had to find a way to get out of there because I didn't want you to grow up to collect carburetors.
That's the
Yeah.
exact conversation right there.
So, and I'll give you an idea of what our neighbors were like. We had some rough and tumble neighbors too. They had a truck, and they sold horses or trained horses or something. But anyway, this is wild that this is a true story. The headlights went out on their truck. They weren't working, and they had to drive home at night. And so they put their kids on the roof of the truck with flashlights.
What?
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
course they did.
Two kids, two flashlights, two headlights.
Oh my goodness. I
Yeah, my mom
can't.
said she looked outside, saw this truck coming through. These two children, just children, like little kids. You're
Oh
like,
my
yeah,
gosh.
you're like, it's a different time. It was the 80s. And you're like, I feel like any time that was bad.
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like that's not isolated to time.
That's
That's
Yeah.
exactly what my brain was
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah. You're like, I don't know. We're kids. I don't think kids were more durable then.
Nope.
No.
or
Yeah.
maybe more expendable. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You just, I remember when I was a kid, if we were doing something dangerous, um, I can't remember. It was one of my grandmas, it was definitely my Italian grandma would say, don't do that. She'd be like, don't do it. It's dangerous. And then she'd be like, it'll kill you. It happens all the time. You just never hear about it. And I always think that that is the funniest thing to say to people. Happens all the time. You just never hear about it.
That's a great grandmother quote.
That's a
It's
classic line. Yeah.
it's the sweetest thing she ever said. It's the most
Most caring thing she
yeah,
ever said.
it's the most loving, caring thing she ever said.
Hashtag
Happens
where
all the
she teach.
time. Yeah, it'll kill you. That'll kill you. It happens all the time. You just never hear about it. And she would use it for everything. It was so funny. Um, at the time it was scary, but in hindsight, I'm like, I've used that excuse before when people just aren't buying what you're saying. You're just like, happens all the time. Just nobody's talking about it. Yeah. So, was it nice making art when you lived out in the country, or was it just like, did you feel like you were cooped up?
Um, I liked it more than my wife did.
Yeah.
She had to drive into town every day to. We lived we lived on a dirt road at the end of a dirt road, dead end dirt road, and it was beautiful property.
Yeah.
And I kind of I grew up in a rural area in Connecticut that was real pretty, and I was try to mimic that.
Yeah.
Just wasn't quite the same. Ran into some issues.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. It's hard when you have like grand ideas that don't quite follow through.
Yeah. Oh, well.
I pretty much grew up out in the country, but as soon as I became part of like a social group, I hated it because it's like the most isolating, you know, thing until you can have like a high school party. And then you have to host an event that terrifies you. You know, because you're isolated, it's like the ideal. I feel like those are the kids that are like targeted for like, hey, we can go to your house. There aren't any neighbors.
Like,
Yeah.
this is where the bad ideas are born.
Yep, yeah, exactly.
Did you have the high school for us? It was where I grew up was the field parties. And
Yeah,
you would pick a place, in a remote spot, and everybody would know where to go and meet and you know,
I just imagine Dazed and Confused for you, John, because that's also like the same era too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple, but not really. It wasn't built into our social structure. It was mostly loose park in the middle of the
Oh yeah,
night.
there you go.
I always think it's funny because so many of John's paintings are like, as of lately, have been, loose park landscapes, right?
Some of them,
And
yeah.
and I always think it would be so funny because when I was in high school, this is a park. Um, it's urban suburb kind of area, midtowny area of
Yeah,
Kansas City. It's an urban park, I would say,
yeah.
but
Historical. I mean,
yeah,
there's a
yeah,
battle there at one point.
yeah. But when we would go there, and I was a kid that would, I was always a passenger for these things, so I never like was participating, but I was terrified the whole time. Um, and we'd be in the park and it'd be like 1 a.m. And when I was in high school, they don't do this anymore. The cops would just drive through the park.
Yeah.
They were
Well,
just
yeah,
driving.
they
They were
probably
just,
still had horses then too, didn't they? Because they had horse patrol. Uh,
yeah, I was there once when they had a horse patrol. They did it with cars. And then they finally were like, hey guys, maybe you shouldn't drive cars through like through a party where there's just like people laying around and just like,
Oh my
they were
gosh.
literally like, there's 1,000 different ways this could go terribly. Stop driving your cop cars through the field. And then I remember that there was a big incident where that happened. And then it was like a couple weeks later, a bunch of people were there and you heard the ringing of a bicycle. And you're like, yeah, so they ended up on bicycles. But yeah, cops on horses. It's always fun.
well, when I moved to Kansas City, that was one of the places that people would meet when I was in high school too.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always thought it'd be funny if one of your paintings there was like kind of a Blues Brother cop car going over the hill through the park. Um, yeah, that was the fun part of high school for a lot of people. It was the thrill of getting in trouble. Yeah. Cassandra, were you making art in high school?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
your daughter there still? I'm sorry for talking about
She just finished it up. She's heading to bed, but this is hers.
it. Okay, I'm sorry. That's
So where
beautiful.
would you go? Where would you
Oh
go
my.
drinking in high school, Cassandra?
Yeah.
No,
I'm
you know
sorry.
what? Like, I think I've told you guys, my sense of rebellion was to follow every rule, even when it wasn't necessary. So I really like genuinely don't have anything exciting to
Yeah,
say. I
you
did art.
should. It's cool.
This is good Verity
That's a
too.
beautiful drawing. Thank you.
Right, gotta go to bed, Buck.
I'm sorry, Cassandra.
Oh no. I don't have anything interesting to
Yeah,
tell y'all. Like
yeah,
I was a big art geek. And I mean I remember I made like a paper mache old man that was almost life size at one
yeah.
point. So I just always had weird ideas that I just would follow through very strongly.
Hmm.
Um,
This is so cool. Oh my gosh, Cassandra, that's amazing.
John, yours looks cool. Yeah, I'm still trying to like figure this out, just what it can do, but it blends and it's fun.
Yeah.
I'm afraid to go too dark too fast.
There's a scene in this movie where this kid screams at the
Hmm.
mom. He's having a tantrum, right?
Hmm.
And I remember when I saw the movie, it was really, it's a scary, they make a tantrum a scary scene,
A
which is,
tantrum can always be a scary
That when
scene.
he's on the bus?
no, well, that might have been another scene I don't remember, but it's him and his mom, it's between him and his mom. And it wasn't, I was with my nephew recently and I was like, oh my God, it's real.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, yeah, that just happens. And in public, you just hope for the grace of others to understand that sometimes they're
Yeah.
just having a rough day.
Yeah. My mom had an issue with my younger brother where he would throw a tantrum because he didn't want to leave a store. And so she said that when she would leave stores, like she'd take him to the store and then he would throw a tantrum to leave. And so it would look like she was stealing him
Yeah, yeah,
because he would be like clinging to the doors.
yes,
Yeah. And
yeah, no,
she's
but
just like, and this is, before there was much literature on it. So there's just like, just like pedestrians just being like, should we do something about this? Or just like, just yeah, witnesses being like,
Of course, I'm not trying to kidnap him. Would you want him?
yeah,
Look at him.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. No, no, you take him. Yeah. She said I can't remember if this was me or him, but she had to take him to the bathroom and right before the toilet flush, he just grabbed her keys and threw it in the toilet.
oh,
And they were just gone. And you're just like, you know,
That's not cool.
no, it's not. You're like, you. That's where you're like, are you the Babadook? Are you
well,
the
there's
Babadook?
always stuff like, when they're really upset and you're trying to calm them
Yeah.
down and be gentle and they scream, "Don't touch me!" And then it's like,
Yeah.
that's when
You're like, what do
it's
we
always
do?
like, oh, like, I swear this is my kid. We're just a little tired right now.
In public, don't. Yeah.
There's definitely a different generation with
Yeah.
you two, because
Yeah.
that's when you would have gotten touched.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, I'm not talking about, no, that's we're
You were with your mom and not your
I
dad.
was raised in that generation. Yeah, no, but I wasn't a victim of that generation. We should be moving on to the third and final pose. It's hashtag drawing hive, hashtag drawing hive 224 at visualized passage. Somebody's like that. We only did that pose for 5 minutes. No, we're moving on. um, yeah, please post your work. We're gonna check it out at the end. This is our long pose. So pick something, draw it for a long time, or draw multiple ones. It's up to you.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of wandering.
Yeah, I'm trying to pick out markers. So I just keep picking up ones and just like trying it and seeing if it works.
Yeah.
John, that's like got such a cool like Chagall softness to it right now. That's really nice.
Yeah, I like you may not be able to tell, but I like the purple that's the paper color that's coming. I put blue over it, but it's still coming
Mhm.
through. So it's got a real consistency of color to it. It's fun.
Yeah, I like it. So here, to me, this is what happens when I work. Do you see this
Yeah.
pile? It's just occurring.
But that seems reasonable.
Like I clean it up. Everything goes back and has its place. But when
Yeah.
I'm like finishing up a show, my studio is a disaster. But I
Yeah.
celebrate being done with the show by spending the next day cleaning.
Doesn't that feel good?
Yeah, it feels so great.
I love that feeling.
So, like I don't this is on the topic of like organization and tools and like yeah, tools specifically. Like I don't think any socket wrench kit that's ever been purchased has stayed organized, right?
Correct.
What is the socket wrench kit of the art studio?
Ooh,
Is it just socket wrenches? Yeah.
that's a really good question. I have to think about that.
Depends what
Well,
you
okay.
want. I mean, Prismacolor pencils tend to get all over the place. My pastels wander all over the place. I try to
Yeah.
keep them like in one big, try to put them in one place.
Yeah.
Anything that's got like individual colors to it, that type of thing tends to get wild. How
I
about
have
I
like an
yeah.
art cabinet that, used to be very much this shelf is this shelf is that, and this shelf is that. Like I'll separate it like acrylics and oils and like drawing materials, and then never stays that way. Like once a year, I'll put it back the way I mean for it to be, and then, a week later it goes back to chaos.
What is like the feeling you get when you finish a show? Like what is like, the thing when you kind of recognize, well, that's done, on to the next thing.
When all the boxes arrive at the gallery, or if it's local, if I've delivered, or all the boxes have arrived, it's just like I can sink into the couch and like let go. There's always this, moment of pulling a show together and, believing it's a really great idea and getting really excited about it. But also there's this moment of like, I think it's a good idea, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good idea. And once it's at the gallery, it doesn't matter. You let go and it's out of your hands. And so that is a wonderful feeling.
That's pretty good. I can relate that, the illustration where my feeling of completion when I left, because I worked in an era as an illustrator that I didn't, almost everything was sent by FedEx, overnight mail. Leaving FedEx is like, okay, this is done now. That was, and I used to get this like this high of thinking, oh, it's over.
Hmm.
And if I liked it, whatever. I mean, it all kind of happened right there when I was driving home from FedEx. Then, of course, you sit around the next day waiting for the art director to call you and tell you how beautiful it is, and that doesn't happen very often.
And they don't really call.
They don't
Yeah,
call.
the best sleep that I ever get is the night after an all-nighter trying to finish a project. It's so awesome. I think it's there's nothing that I enjoy more than
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
that's a lot of that. Um,
yeah,
a lot of that built in there, same type of thing that,
yeah,
you feel good, like, especially if you feel good about the project.
Hmm.
It's like, oh, I can't wait to hear what they have to say about that one.
yeah.
Didn't always work that way, but sometimes.
I do think all-nighters are for foolish people, or people like, I don't know, or like extraordinary situations, but
I feel like college
still
stacked
happens to me.
courses in a way that you couldn't always be on top of it, and I had to do
Yeah.
that. So like that was definitely a time that happened a lot. And then there's times if my kids are sick a lot, and I'm just losing days in the studio, but my deadlines don't change. That's when I won't pull a full all-nighter, but I'll be up late and then up early the next day to take care of my kids.
Yeah.
So, those are times when that just happens and that's the reality and you just get through it.
I've been doing I already forgot the term of it. I'm saying it's not block scheduling because that's the college like school. That's like a school scheduling thing, but block, it's like a block focus setup where it's very simple. It's like setting a list of things you have to get done in a day.
Hmm.
I've been on a roll with it. I set a list of things. Uh it's usually like 10 or 12 things, which is way too many. Um I choose the three that are the most important to get done, and I estimate how much time it's going to take to get each of those three tasks complete, right?
Hmm.
And then I have my timer, my faithful timer,
The
and I
Timmy timer.
set it, the Timmy timer. I set it for an amount of time that will not be interrupted by anything, right? For just one of the tasks, one of the three tasks, right? And and then all I do is focus on that task for that time. Nothing can, like, I can't take a phone call. I don't answer emails. I do nothing other than that task. I won't go longer than an hour because it that becomes kind of difficult, like to go, but an hour is pretty
Hmm.
normal for me. And it's wild how often I get those things done, like faster than an hour. If it takes you longer than an hour, the rule of my system. It sounds like a system that like Mark Wahlberg sold me on like how to make money and succeed.
Say hello to your mother and let me tell you
Yeah,
about this.
like Tony Robbins junk, but it's really working. But if I run out of time, then I move on to the next one. You just abandon your project, right? And then you clean up at the end of the day. Like you do all the small stuff, all the doable stuff. It is wild how much more stuff I get done.
That's great.
And it's weird because the other system, which is just like act busy all the time and do a bit like get pulled in like 20 different directions constantly, like it feels busier and it feels like more is happening, but I end up working way more hours a week, and it just feels like nothing gets accomplished because there's just
Mm.
constantly a distraction. I don't know. It's
That
I've started to pretty religiously use the do not disturb on my phone.
That's good.
Yeah.
the tough part is like when it's sometimes really hard to calculate or quantify time limits on a piece of artwork. Now,
Yeah.
illustration work, you got to think that way. If you're doing a piece of artwork, a painting for yourself,
Yeah.
sometimes it just takes longer, It's like,
You
I
can have
think that
an idea of what it can
yeah.
be, but some days it just doesn't go that way.
So the thing that you're doing with this system that I think is different is not so much that you're getting the estimate right. It's that your efforts are concentrated and like exerted really effectively, right? And so like at the end, like if you get to a point and you're like, and I'm not saying this is a good system for painting, like that's not my angle. I wouldn't have an opinion like that, but it's just that at the end of the day, you're like, I put in 2 very solid hours of that. Whereas I think with me, it'd be like I focused on that for 4 hours, but all these other things were going on. So I really only got like 45 minutes done, you know?
Mm.
Um, yeah, like if I don't like mute like certain things, specifically email, I mean, I'll just get you see an email come through and you're like, oh, I gotta respond to that. and
Right.
and you're like, and I'm gonna think about that until I respond to it. And so yeah. But yeah, no, I could see how it would be. I mean, I'm very rarely accurate with my estimates on it, but it's a fun little system.
well, it sounds efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I prescribe to the like, what is it like Sweden's law of like, what is it? They're like, nobody should work more than like 30 hours or something. Like, and I really think, yeah, like I've become, I was raised intensely in like hustle culture and I really don't care for it. Because I think it's just designed to burn people out. Uh,
But
but I
I
mean, if
think
you're not
there's
willing to
lots,
hustle, you got to have a system. Like, you know,
I think there's lots of artists, especially like emerging artists that have those questions like how do you deal with that?
yeah,
How do you deal with being by yourself for a lot of time and
yeah,
the amount of effort you have to put into, I mean, because it's not, again, because it's not totally quantifiable. It's like, I just got to do a good job. It's just got to be good. It's got to be,
yeah,
and so people tend to just put so much energy into it. And then they talk about, burning themselves out or getting, overworked and tired and stuff like that.
yeah,
Because I
yeah,
get a kick out of this. That we were all sitting around talking at the academy one time, and group of instructors and Sterling kind of put out the question to everybody. He goes, I mean, how many times have you had to like stay up all night and work on an assignment, work on a job?
Hmm.
It kind of went around to all the instructors, and it got to Gary Kelly, and he said, never. And we all kind of went, yeah, of course not.
I can picture his deadpan expression too.
Yeah, just totally. No, I never had to do it. He goes, I wouldn't do that. He goes, I've stayed up late, but I've never like stayed up all night.
Yeah.
8 p.m. bedtime. He stayed up till like 8:45.
Gary's from Iowa.
Yeah, Uh,
it's like, really is. And he was the oldest of us that were having that conversation that day. And, it's like the maturity of it was smart.
Hmm.
It's like,
yeah,
don't do that to yourself. It's just, what you're doing is a marathon, not a sprint. And you, you don't want to kill yourself for the next, or beat yourself up. You got to be ready for the next day. And I remember that. So that is so true. It's like I worked really, really hard to get this assignment done, stayed up pretty much the whole night, and I was just wiped out. And I got a call from the art director and said, "Hey, we love this. We think it's great, but," that was a way of him selling this to me. "But we need you to make a couple of changes. So you'll have it back this afternoon." And I'm like, "No."
yeah,
I said, I need to sleep. I'm exhausted. And but had to get back up and work on it again all night again.
That is so hard.
Yeah.
yeah. I think about when I was working at like photo studios as an assistant and stuff. And John, it's the same question we get asked all the time, which is like, how do you deal with burnout? And I remember somebody asking, like, do you get burnt out on this? And it was like, I worked in a cubicle for a year and a half before I had this job. Do you have any idea how much better this job is than being in a cubicle? Like, it was just like, yeah, if you want to get like ramped up and passionate about being creative, it's like go work at a cubicle for half a day.
Right.
You're gonna be like, my job is awesome. You know,
We
it's gonna
did.
light a fire under you.
It's
Yeah,
Perspective is your friend for sure.
yeah,
a really good Chris Payne quote of him saying, telling students, somebody was asking, it's like talking about all the hard work, and Chris
yeah,
kind of said, he was, have you guys figured this out yet? This is kind of like we're like in the cartoon part of life. We're in the toy department.
yeah, yeah,
I sit
yeah.
around
I mean,
and I draw goofy
yeah.
pictures all day.
I mean, at the time, I had a friend who worked at a children's hospital, and so I'd be on sets, and Dustin, we talked about this last week. Like, you'd be on like a what Dustin called, not me, shit show projects, right? And you come home, and I'd be talking with my buddy who worked at a children's hospital, and I'd be like venting about how crazy this project was, how everything was going wrong, nobody was doing what they were supposed to do, and he'd be like, "Dude." Did anyone die there today? Like, and I'd be like, no. And he'd be like, yeah, it sounds like a pretty good day. Like, I mean, like in contrast, it is all perspective, which in that commercial world, man, the sentiment, and that's ultimately why I really lost interest in it. The sentiment of like ad agencies behaving like they
Oh yeah, you talk about
that
hustle culture.
but ad agencies behaving as if that their commercial is like going to cure cancer is out of control. Like, it's wild the way they treat creatives and like the weight they put on projects
That's
that
not
are
a healthy balance.
that are just like, you're just like, guys, this is a Hot Wings commercial. Like, like you're like, yeah, this is like like, yeah, like, can you tell Rick Ross to calm down? He was the owner of the Hot Wings company at the time. He was he was not cool. He was not cool. I never met him, but I heard a lot of stories. Yeah. But yeah, people were very serious. So always
Yeah, I
framing
mean,
things. Framing things with the global everything going on in the world, just being like, this is pretty cool. You get to make pictures,
Yeah.
you know?
well, you do some of you work in a um like doing profile editorial where, and again, it's maybe a little
Yeah.
bit more luxury to it now because you can send digital files and
Yeah.
you don't lose a lot of the shipping time. But man, that if that work is not done and not right, it's going to press no matter what. So people
Yeah.
take it really, really seriously. And it's just that's just part, that's that part of the industry.
Yeah. Um, I mean, this is such a common question we get asked about the burnout. And I always think burnout is like what burnout related to anything is a lot of it is perspective and like how you're framing what you're experiencing or what you're doing.
Well,
And some
also
of
you
that,
could just be really overworked.
yeah, I mean, sometimes it just means you need to rest or like step away. Um, but if it's just like deadline stuff or just like being like a common one that I've heard is just like, I just don't want to draw today. And I mean, that's fine. But like finding the ambition to like do what you enjoy. And one of the things I would say, have you guys ever done gratitude lists?
Mm-mm.
No? I'll recommend it. It's
I,
great.
I have none.
It's awesome. It's really simple. You just put a list. I mean, it's like pretend it's Thanksgiving. And you just in your head just do a list. If you want it to be bigger, you write it down. But you just it's exactly what it sounds like. You just put together a list of like 5, 10 things you're grateful for.
Well,
Um,
that always sounds smart.
and I think that it totally it works. I buy into it. It totally works for me. I don't know.
That's good.
Yeah.
Sounds healthy.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
It's so I think most people who find themselves caught in like a bad cycle of and I'm just talking about like motivation or being excited about what you enjoy, there's a million different answers to why you might feel that way or whatnot. But I think we're like constantly like putting together a list of things that aren't I did this with my career and really like daily is you put together a list of all of the things that are going wrong that day, right? And so the idea is of a gratitude list because when things go right, it doesn't seem like I think about them as much. You're just kind of like that went is the way it's supposed to go. you know?
Mm.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It just happens and you're just like, oh, that's the way things are supposed to be, right? Good. Right? And then I think but when it goes wrong, you're like, what? That's not the way it's supposed to. And so you build this list of things that have gone wrong. And the idea is you're counterbalancing that. I don't know. I like it, but I
no,
don't
I
know.
think that that sounds like a really healthy thing to do. I just dealt with coming off of this past spring. I had two solo shows back to back with six group shows in between.
Yeah.
And it was just a lot of work and
Just need a
trying to be
breather.
fresh and like
Yeah.
come up with new ideas while doing it. And I just found that after I got through all of it, it was great. Everything couldn't have gone better, but I just needed a moment to not have to make something
Yeah.
um on for a deadline. And
Yeah.
I felt very lucky I was able to take a little bit of time just to play around with art supplies so I could just
That's fun.
have fun and kind of discover some
Yeah.
new things. I think
I I would love it if the gallery director is just trying to get you to do another assignment, just like really quick flip some stuff. And they're like, Cassandra, have you ever made a gratitude list? They're just trying to get you to work more. Maybe a gratitude list would fix this. No.
well, and the galleries didn't
Yeah.
even know that I took
Yeah.
time off, because I
Uh,
had so much that I had gotten through. But I just found that when I was able to take the time to learn some fresh things unrelated to what I was doing, that was really good for me.
mhm. Yeah.
that Cassandra, you've heard me say this a bunch. It was my great advice from my father about artists getting burnout. And it's like, just always have something you really have always wanted to do as an artist. And, again, that you're going to have to always think about that. But he said in his career, he said he never really got burned out. He never lost enjoyment because he would always have an assignment for himself, something he wanted to do that he would keep on the sidelines for when that moment came, where you're just like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to do, or I'm really bored with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Why,
totally agree with that.
ask yourself why you do this, why you wanted to do this in the first place. No, I
It's
think,
kind of like his megalopolis.
yeah,
Are you familiar with the Francis Ford Coppola?
Oh
Film?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. You got to find your megalopolis. Yeah. That's amazing. So what was his thing? Was it just always a different painting, John?
yeah, just a painting that he would be,
Yeah.
he said, I always have it sitting in the corner over there
Yeah.
waiting for me to come to it,
Yeah.
wanting to, wanted to try something he hadn't tried before. He was a really inquisitive artist.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
have
I
a
never stop wanting to make stuff. That's
yeah,
never a problem. Just
Yeah.
sometimes I just need it not to be on deadline.
sure. I have a megalopolis theory on the production of Megalopolis.
Oh, okay.
So Francis Ford Coppola may have directed or created one of the biggest flops in like cinema history with Megalopolis. I'm gonna butcher the facts, but it's hundreds of millions of dollars. He sold large shares of his winery
Right.
Coppola's to finance it. Um, the film has been has been described as like one of the worst films ever, and then some people are like it's secretly the best movie of the past 100 years or whatever. But either way, this is what I think occurred. I think that the Coppolas were the Coppola universe of people that are connected to Francis were kind of like circling him like buzzards as he's gotten older, wanting to know what's going to happen to like the Coppola estate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of interested in like, well, whose name's on what, who's gonna get the winery, and like, how like are you thinking about these kind of things? Like getting asked all these questions that really nobody wants to ever think about, for
Mm-hmm.
themselves. And I think that he was like, I'm gonna burn this place down and I'm gonna blow it all on this mega movie that will never make a return. I think that, but it's dream movie too. That's my theory. I think
Ha,
that I think Megalopolis is the product of the Coppola extended family.
that's a fascinating theory.
Yeah, I could see it. I don't know. But it is
Yeah.
interesting. It's amazing that Coppola is like still on sets, still directing, and still making movies that are like, I mean, hey, it didn't make its money back, but it sure got people. I mean, he very much knew it was not going to make its money back, but he still like was made it, you know?
And everybody heard about it. Like everyone knows
Yeah.
the name.
But also it's kind of interesting because like, I mean, I don't know, like he made the movie he wanted to make. He's richer than God, so it's like, why would he? I don't know. It's like at a certain point, like who cares? Like I could see him being like, who cares? I
Mm-hmm.
could imagine more interesting things to do with $100 million, but but I respect him for the art of it. It's exciting. Yeah,
Thank you. He's got to make money to take care of
yeah,
Nicholas.
yeah, yeah. He could have sent like 50,000 people to college, but
Right.
but whatever.
Yeah. But we got Megalopolis,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, but Adam Driver, got a roll out of it. So yeah, we got Megalopolis.
It
So
is fun to say Megalopolis.
yeah, I I feel like if you had just shown anyone the title, you'd be like, yeah, this isn't. Yeah, this isn't it, Francis. Fun story though. He's the first one to make a mainstream movie with two in it, like the number two. Do you know that?
Huh?
Yeah. Didn't
The
know
God,
that.
the
Oh,
Godfather 2.
Godfather.
Oh,
Godfather,
okay.
The Godfather is the first like major like film like theater released movie um that has two in it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out how Megalopolis was spelled with the number two. That's where I got confused.
Oh, you're like, where's the two in
I
it?
was like, I'm like missing this
You're
somehow.
like, I'm surprised you weren't just like Ghostbusters 2. What are you talking about to me?
Well, I was more just trying to process it because I was like, I
Yeah.
know I'm missing this somehow.
he didn't invent the sequel. That's not what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just the guy that was just like, what should we call the second Godfather? And he was like, I don't know, just put a two on the end of it. Yeah,
He knew it was good.
yeah,
Call it whatever you want.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder, do you think of directors that way, Timmy? Because I think of, like there's artists that have like a time period in their life that they're known for, that they're, considered that was their best.
Their
And
Yeah.
heyday.
and even when stuff gets curated, I mean, there's painters that have done things like in the 60s or 70s that
Uh,
was their wheelhouse where they were the most notable. And it's also the most expensive of their work. I mean, their recent work may not be worth, a third or even a quarter of what it was when they were
yeah.
selling the iconic stuff.
I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. I have I have directors that I think, I'm making fun of Francis Ford Coppola, but I think that he's extremely cool for being like, I want to say like 85 and like not just like going out and just doing his thing, which a lot of the iconic directors are afraid to try new things. And I don't know if it's fear or just blandness, but they just kind
Or
of review
just
this.
hired
Yeah.
and they've done a lot.
Yeah. I think some of the most iconic directors that are older now, um, are making a template and they just have like they have like assistant directors that are doing like they're all the star of movies is the assistant director is the like second AD, right? Or that I mean the AD. But I do think that there's some that like are like, hey, we're just on set. And then they talk to an actor a couple times. Um, I don't know. I mean like my favorite directors are like Jordan Peele, Alex Garland, um, Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan's never afraid to like, I mean, talk about,
Guillermo del Toro, I feel like he's
Mhm.
always ready to try.
Yeah, yeah. They just like never stop exploring stuff.
Yeah.
Wes Anderson is a director that was probably my favorite director growing up and I've just gotten like Andersonian like fatigue. you know?
Yeah, there's his, it's like there's a lot of similarity in his movies.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, you know what's funny is that is it was so whimsical and fun to watch them. And he was the only person that did it. And then it kind of got like emulated by like 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 in like small film like it became so mimicked and you started seeing it everywhere so much like even just like on YouTube shorts and stuff
Or
like
like
yeah
TikTok had a Wes Anderson kind of trend.
yeah and that's like yeah I mean that too and I was just like okay this is
I
um
heard he hated that that happened.
I think it's probably frustrating to be like, oh, like millions of people are just like mimicking what they consider to be your voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And like, I don't know. He writes, yeah, I kind of got tired where I was like, maybe you could make a movie about characters that are like, they like have normal conversations with each other.
Well, and I wonder if it was like unintentional, like M. Night
Yeah.
Shyamalan kind of got like put in a box for a while and everyone expected a surprise ending and that kind of set him up for like for it to
Yeah.
be really tough.
I I think he is such a misunderstood director. I think he's great.
Yeah, no, I just think he
Yeah.
kind of got everybody wanted one specific thing, and I think that that must have been really hard
Yeah.
to have pulled it off so well, and then like it's not repeatable the same way.
I would bet that he is maybe the most famous director, potentially. He might be the most famous director with like a long list of movies that have really bad reviews and like didn't make much money. but they're always original. They're always super original ideas, which I love.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, I get so excited to see a movie or a story, whether it be like a graphic novel, anything, where I'm like, I have no idea where this is going. And I feel like that becomes harder and harder to find, you know?
Hmm.
Like I think some of the most like celebrated shows now, it's like you can almost you can almost say exactly how it's gonna end as soon as it starts, you know?
I'm okay with that though sometimes. Like I don't need to have everything surprise me. I think life itself can be very unpredictable. So sometimes, yeah, like
Yeah.
maybe there's an equation and I'm good with it too.
I don't want to be surprised. I just don't want to be like, I know the exact path that this is gonna take. Like I would say that with like like I watched The Boys. I think The Boys is like the most predictable show on television. I just still just kept watching it like like a slow moving car accident. Yeah. I kind of hate watched it for a while.
Do you like both Cassandra and Timmy? Do you like endings that leave you thinking about like what could have happened, or
Oh yeah. I
so?
love a good
Sometimes,
But
sometimes
so
not.
you okay, so like like the way The Sopranos ended. Do
loved it.
I did
Loved
too.
it.
My wife couldn't
Loved it.
stand it. She goes, I can't, it's driving me nuts. I don't know what happened. And I'm like, that's what's so great about it. You can
Yeah.
decide.
Okay, I do love closure. So if it's gonna
Oh,
be done, like you can leave a certain
no.
amount undone, but like I do love me some closure. So it can't be too ambiguous. You gotta give me
And
something.
so, and John, I won't get into it, but there is a definitive answer to the end of The Sopranos. And but that's what makes it fun is it they left you with a puzzle,
Yeah.
you know? They left you with like a little riddle basically that you had to solve on your own. And that happened before, there were like blogs dedicated to it. So you or like, YouTube channels that like analyze, like basically do like a collegiate essay on like what really happened, right? And I love that because it you get to have this conversation about like, well, what I don't know. It's better when the monster's hidden, you know?
Yeah, I do agree with that, actually. I think the scariest movies are the ones that
Hmm.
are I see in my head more than they show me.
Hmm.
It's back to that George Pratt statement I made a couple weeks ago. It's like draw only draw enough and let the viewer make the decision of what else is going to happen, because you cannot draw anything more powerful than you can make somebody imagine something. And I think that's really true. And I think storytelling and I think movies are that way too.
Hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's what, that's my theory. And I'm not a, I don't spend my days listening to podcasts, but I do listen to, have listened to um enough where it
Yeah.
reminds me of like the visual of radio, where
Yeah.
I'm trying to put because I can't see anything, I'm trying to put the visual together myself.
Yeah. So David Chase, creator of The Sopranos, fought really hard to have that ending. HBO did not want it to end that way.
Really?
HBO wanted Tony Soprano to get shot in the booth. And David Chase was like, that is not interesting. It's not creative storytelling. And fans are going to hate it. And he refused to do it. And he fought like really. I saw an interview with him where he talked about how like hard he fought for that to not happen that way.
Well, I'm
Um,
glad you won that.
it's super. I mean, I don't know. That's like a really wild one because like that's such a wild ending for anybody who doesn't know. It just like goes black. It was 20 years ago, so it's not a spoiler. But um, the screen just goes black. Everybody thought their TVs went out. It was thrilling. um, but it's just such a testament to like, first of all, how did he know to commit so much to his creative vision, right? I mean, don't you see that sometimes with like what you're doing? Like how do you have such good intuition or like I don't know. how did he know that? You know?
Yeah.
Because in hindsight 2020, it's like, yeah, it's way, way less interesting to
The other
show.
the other one I thought was great as an ending was Mad Men. That
Mhm.
was, because of the time period in my life,
Yeah.
it's just like everything together, and it was like, I could see it coming, and it was just like, and when it happened, I was just totally, totally blown away. I just absolutely loved it.
So everybody, please start posting your work to Instagram. We're gonna head over there in about 5 minutes. So start posting now. It's
Mhm.
hashtag drawing hive, hashtag drawing hive 224, and at Visual Arts Passage.
I like the hashtag that you've been doing because then it lets me keep track of how many episodes we have had.
Yeah. I I also thought it would be easier to then go back and look at old episodes.
Ah.
Yep. Because you can just put the number in after it. Isn't that fun, everybody?
The way that you guys are talking about shows, it reminds me of like I don't know, have you guys seen the spoiler t-shirt where it's like literally all these movies that had crazy endings and it's just like a one line like he was a ghost or like that was his mother or it was like a whole
Yeah.
bunch of them and it's so funny. That was his father.
Yeah. Uh yeah, hashtag drawing hive 224. Um, yeah, no. And for next week, are we gonna do surprise you're a ghost?
Oh yeah, spoiler, you're a ghost. So you know, you all out there have seen way more than I have. I thought it was funny, like we could do a ghost theme, and it's like ones where they don't know they're a ghost, like Sixth Sense, and I like so that's hence the title, spoiler. And the others, can you all think of any other movies
Yeah,
where
please.
like somebody was a ghost that didn't know they were a ghost? I just thought it was a funny theme.
Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice knows he's a ghost, right?
Well, like, I mean, I
Someone
know
said
Gina
Beetlejuice.
Davis and Alec Baldwin at first don't know they are, but like
Uh,
the other ones, like that was the big reveal at the end.
yeah. One of my favorite comedians, Joe List, has a joke about The Sixth Sense where he says, The Sixth Sense, they show Bruce Willis die in the opening scene. And it's just so true as to like 90s families that we would be like, oh no, he's not a ghost. He's just in a marriage where his wife doesn't talk to him.
I know.
we all were just like, oh yeah, she just doesn't talk to him.
They just pushed that so well that we're like, we didn't question it.
Yeah, yeah. We've already done Beetlejuice, and it has to be surprise you're a ghost. So yeah, no, somebody's screen ran about main characters dead the whole time.
Yeah, because
It's
I just
great.
thought
All right,
like
perfect. We got a ton of material here. All right.
perfect.
Yeah, some good stuff. Some really good. Oh, there's some great ones. Yeah.
Cassandra, I really like your
Yeah.
drawing there, your painting.
Oh, thanks. I like yours. It's beautiful.
Thanks. Kind of two different worlds we're working in, but
Yeah, but I can say these markers work and they're cool, so that's fun.
Okay, everybody. Time's running out.
I can't figure out what to do with how far I want to take my background. This was a really tricky one. It's like,
Well, and the background has such interesting texture of the quilt.
yeah,
So yeah.
but it was this is one that's like, well, I'll bring up a, teaching lesson here. The figure is light against dark and dark against light. It has a major counter change in the value structure of it. So on the left side, the light is lighter than the background, and on the right side, it's dark against the background, but it's got the same background. And so that's just, you have to consider that. You have to think about how the figure reads. And so I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out how I want how subtle the background can be, but it's gotta be there, or else you won't be able to see the figure.
I'm really impressed with kind of the lost edge feel you went with the dark side of the face into the hair. That's really well handled because that I was looking at that thinking that was going to be tough.
Yeah. So this is how an artist takes compliments. So you don't like the rest of it?
I
Like I
love
said,
the
it looks
rest of it.
awesome.
So what's wrong with the rest of it? Oh, it's so much fun to pick on artists.
hmm
Cassandra has such a different look than like the other, like it's so exciting to see you work with new materials. It's fun.
Yeah, it kind of challenges the way I work because
Yeah.
this is like watercolor. I have to hold on to my light first.
Mm-hmm.
So normally I would just cover everything up and then bring the light in at the end. But here I've really got to maintain where the light is and figure out if it still can work as you build it. So it was a good challenge. I want to do more with it because it kind of worked my brain a lot.
Yeah.
Well, here's a really good estimate to the drawing Hive. I did not want to draw tonight at all. I didn't feel well. I feel better.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
so glad.
And I had fun drawing.
Well, it turned out
Nice.
great, especially
Add
with
it
your
to
last edge.
add it to
But
your gratitude list. Yeah.
well, part of it was I thought, okay, I'm gonna draw this the way I want to draw this. I want to,
Uh-huh.
maybe not render a lot and just maybe be a little bit more elusive. It was made me feel good.
Yeah, when you just kind of let go.
Wow.
Well, and this is my safe place to bomb if I'm gonna bomb. Like everybody is
Mhm.
always great, and so I don't know how this was gonna go, if it was gonna even look like an image.
That's a great conversation to have sometime. It's like, the you gotta feel like you can fail. Be willing to fail.
Yeah, and I think that's what's great about here. This is a safe place, and I
Mhm.
think it helps me flourish when I try things outside of my bandwagon. I can't always do
Yeah.
that with my gallery stuff. Like I do try to push myself there, but here's where I can like I can't use these on my paintings, but I can play with them here, and I like how I can build an image this way. And
Yeah.
good.
On the topic of bombing, Sally Q sent me a ton of footage, and it's just like all of it's some of the coolest comedians just bombing.
Oh, that's
And,
so fun.
and yeah, and it is wild. And you got to think of it this way. It's a fun art form to look at for focus, I think. And it's kind of fun, John, because you're working with Jason Sealer in study hall pretty regularly, who's also a comedian.
Yeah, I was gonna bring him up
Yeah.
on our Wednesday night study
Yeah.
hall. Jason has been he's doing the crits with me, and he's just fantastic.
He's
That's so
awesome.
Not
great.
only is he entertaining, nice, fun to talk,
Yeah.
man, he really moves around, moves. You don't know when you teach with somebody for the first time, but he just
Hmm.
has a good understanding, like generally what good picture making is.
Yeah.
It's
So
been a pleasure.
the art form of like comedy though that's really interesting is like for you to practice painting and drawing, like you just got to go to your studio and start drawing, right?
Hmm.
To practice stand up, like you can only write so much, and
Yeah.
a lot of them write on right on stage. Like that's when they say right, that's what they mean, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And you got to get a crowd. You have to find a PA system. You got to make sure that you can get on the set list, like, and then you've got 10 minutes. And then what this is the funny thing is like you go out on stage and somebody yells something at you and then it's ruined. you, you, you're just like, okay, maybe I can find 10 minutes to practice tomorrow. Right. Like it's a brutal art form. Um, but it's really cool because like
Do they, can you tell, like, when you're watching that, are there comedians that like enjoy the fail? I mean, do they learn from
I
it?
haven't I haven't I've only heard of one comedian that says that they just like love to bomb and like enjoy just like throwing everything off. And I would say that they're not a good comedian. And they've just made a career out of being an actor on TV shows. But like I would say like most people don't see them as like a stand-up.
Can I say the clip that you sent me that was really funny where he was talking about how fun it is to
Oh,
bomb
oh
and
yeah.
then
Oh yeah. It's so cool. So I get footage. It's Mark Norman. He's just left a show that he's bombed at horribly, right? Like crickets, and he's trying new stuff. And when I say bombed, like he's got golden material that like he'll try the new stuff, it bombs, and then he's not a jerk. Like he doesn't leave the crowd upset. He'll lift them back up for the next person. So he'll do the hits, right? But he leaves this show and he's walking down the street with Salakis, and Salakis has the camera running. Nobody repeat this because it's not released yet, but
that's why I want to ask
yeah, no,
permission.
it's fine. I'll tell it. So he's walking and Mark is talking to the camera and he's like, what's crazy is I'll do a show like that. I'll bomb. No one will laugh. And then I'll walk out on the street and somebody will be like, comedy, you're a funny dude, man. And literally within 5 seconds of him saying this, a guy is walking across the street in downtown Manhattan and says, hey, Norman, comedy, you're a funny dude. And the camera cuts to Mark and he goes, timing. It's amazing.
It's
It's
brilliant.
so wild. You guys ready to see some art?
Yeah.
Let's do it. All right.
Oh, wow.
Some good stuff
Yeah.
here. I'm going to make sure it refreshes. Here we go. Oh,
Oh,
creepy. Good stuff.
wow. That is cool. That is really good.
Creepy.
Ooh, that is
Oh,
cool.
fun. I got to see the other. Whoa.
Gosh. I love
Wow.
what you
Oh
do.
my
Oh,
gosh.
that's awesome.
That's
Oh,
amazing.
nice.
Oh, cool.
Wow, that is, you got the eyes, like the expression perfectly.
Yeah.
Really nice. Good job.
Oh,
Open mouths are
Padma.
hard. You
Whoa.
both did a great job. I love the crackling and
Oh
Great
my
attitude
gosh.
on that one.
Mhm.
Oh, nice, June.
Oh, June, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, great
Good
job,
stuff.
Valerie. That was really nice. I love it. Great job.
Good stuff.
Yeah, that was hard. You did good. Oh, I love how you layered everything.
Hmm.
That's really well done.
Beautiful.
Fun.
Nice. Good intensity on the eyes there.
Yeah, no kidding.
Here comes Jeff.
Yeah,
Yeah, Jeff,
Look at that.
amazing.
love the hat.
I just love to see all the choices you make in the panels.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's cool,
Oh,
Paul. That's
that's
really
great.
cool.
I don't know if Paul's seen the movie, but it looks like he has. That is great.
Oh, that's fun.
Nice, Arturo.
Great job.
Good stuff.
Really good. That one was a hard one too.
Nice.
Nice.
Good job.
That's cool. Wow, that's really neat.
Whoa, Tyler.
That's cool.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
that. I
how did
love how
Jeff
they're
do all
holding the
this?
cups,
Yeah,
like
Studio
the
Good Jeff.
attention to the hands. Yeah,
Whoa,
Fun.
good
nice.
job. Good plaid.
Padma, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's fun.
Nice, Padma.
Ooh,
Dr. Padma
that's
in study hall last
cool,
week. That's nice,
Nicole.
Nicole. Wow.
That's really
Wow.
powerful. Oh,
Whoa.
wow,
Nice.
Eric.
Eric.
Whoa, Eric.
Fantastic.
Whoa.
He gave you the Keanu.
Yeah, I
Oh,
gave you the
that's neat.
Keanu. Yeah,
I love your line work.
amazing.
Oh, that's really well done.
Very
Love
well
the
done.
hair too.
Wow.
Great job. That's
Wow.
cool, Rebecca.
Amazing.
Well done.
I love that.
That's
Nice.
really good.
That's fun.
Pretty
Fantastic.
immediate. That's very nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like
Really, really
no
organized
lines.
that picture. It was a tough one to do.
Yeah, great job.
Yeah,
Ooh, that's nice.
nice.
Good one.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Yes.
Nailed it.
That's,
No
yeah,
kidding, right?
That's
exactly.
why I picked
Love
that
it.
photo. Nailed it. That's nice.
Ooh, that's good and creepy.
Like the character off to the left.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no kidding.
Ooh,
Yeah,
That's awesome.
that's cool. I like the door in the background.
that was like a combination of
Oh,
paintings.
cool, Gary.
Oh, that's a good
Wow.
drawing.
It's a really good drawing. Really nice.
Sally, amazing.
Oh, I love that, Sally.
Oh, beautiful.
Dang.
Wow.
That is nice.
Yes.
His
Love
eyes.
it. Again, the way the hands are holding the cup, like the attention to
Yeah,
that. Love it.
yeah,
That's hard. Ooh,
that's fun.
haunting.
Oh, it killed it. Padma, dang.
Yeah, Padme,
That's
you're on a
awesome.
roll.
Wow.
Way to go, Padma.
Ooh, that's cool. That's creepy.
Yeah,
I just love this guy's expression. Y'all have gotten it so well.
You got it.
yeah.
Oh, nice.
Wow, that is so strong.
Wow.
That is lovely.
Nice.
Felicity, that's amazing. That's
Yes,
creepy.
Felicity.
Yikes.
Good
Amazing,
drawing.
Gary.
Ooh, solid.
The
Just,
Babadook.
just so good.
Yeah,
Ooh, nice.
Ooh,
good
that's
stuff.
cool.
Love the background in that, the textures in it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's cool.
that's really cool. Great job. I love I
Wow.
love the two that like go
Yeah.
against the seam.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Jeff, where you got the time?
I
Man.
know, I know. I just feel like his hand is a blur the whole time.
Yeah, this is great stuff.
Fantastic. Oh, I
Well,
love
I don't know
that.
why I did that. Yeah,
That's
fun.
fun, Nicole. I really like that. Tea? Coffee?
I'm not doing this on purpose. It's jumping around. Wow.
Hmm, that's nice.
So
Wow.
good. Wow.
Wow.
Padme, you got so much done.
Oh my gosh, Padma. Yeah, Studio de Padma.
Yeah,
Mm.
fantastic.
All right, that's the last one. That was great.
Really
Everybody,
nice.
fun night. Thank you so much for tuning in. It was fun hanging out, John, Cassandra.
Yep. Thank
Thanks,
you,
Keep an
guys.
Timmy. Thank you, Cassandra. Always great hanging with you guys.
We'll see
Always
you next
enjoy
week.
y'all.
We'll see you next week for the final Halloween episode.
Yeah, because we're not doing Halloween, right?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would just be the three of us. All right. It
Okay.
wouldn't be, well, it'd just be you and me, John.
I have to take the kids trick or
Yeah.
treating. Yeah, I won't be
Yeah.
And
here.
All right.
I have a date with my granddaughter.
All
So
right, everybody.
Oh, I want to see pictures.
Yeah.
yep.
All right. John's gonna
All right.
dress up like the Babadook.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, thanks. All right.
All right, everybody. Have a nice night. Bye.
Night.